Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I've been asked in the comments and by a few people about making a video on how to pack for moto camping and not just kind of what to pack. So that's what we've got here. So I'm going to cover some stuff like different kinds of packing systems, different types of panniers, different ways to mount stuff to your bike, and also some tips on best practice on packing things for moto camping. So let's get into it. Cool, so first of all, I want to talk about different kinds of packing systems. So you've got panniers, and you've got a few different kinds of panniers, and you've got some other kinds of ways to pack as well. So I use hard panniers, the aluminium box panniers. It's just what came with my bike, so I've kind of had those and used them. I don't have a top box. It's been on my list to buy a top box for a long time, but the more time that has passed where I've not used one, I've realised I don't really need one, and I'm just buying it for the sake of buying it. I might get one in the future just because it gives me a bit more space to add some bits to it. So some advantages to having hard panniers is security. You can obviously lock them, keeps all your stuff safe, and you haven't got to worry about strangers going through your bag if you're not with your bike. And another benefit is it also keeps your stuff safe in the event of a crash or a drop of the bike. It can also help protect your bike from a drop as well. I have dropped my Tiger just after I bought it in the driveway. It's like the week after I bought it, and I put my foot down, and it was like when you miss the last step of the stairs and my foot just kind of like, and then once it was going, it was just gone. But I had the panniers on the side, which meant that my bike didn't get a single scratch on it, so it was a win. Also, they do make extra bits to go on the panniers. So most of the hard panniers have like little rings and hooks and stuff on the top and the sides. And people make bags and extra attachments for those. So you can kind of add extra bits to the pannier boxes if you need the extra space, which same goes for the top box as well. A negative to the hard panniers is that they are just one size. Even if you only have them half full, they're still the same size. And once they're full, they're full. You can't expand them, and you can't make them any smaller than they actually are. Other types of panniers are soft panniers. So we've got a few different kinds of soft panniers. So you've got the ones that are kind of made of like a similar Gore-Tex-like material. These are usually quite good because you don't always need a rack for those, but sometimes you do need a rack depending on what kind of bike you have. Obviously with your hard panniers, you're going to need a whole rack system fitted to your bike for the boxes to go on as well. Whereas the soft ones, depending on the bike you have, sometimes you can get the ones that just clip underneath the seat and just hang, as long as you haven't got an exhaust in the way. Obviously depends on what kind of bike you have, where your exhaust sits. You know, always check with the manufacturer of the panniers if they're suitable for your bike or whether you need a frame or not. Sometimes you do. Another benefit is that they don't weigh as much as hard panniers. Obviously the hard panniers have a weight to them before you've even filled them up. Soft panniers obviously weigh a lot less. So if it's something you're concerned about, then that might be something for you. Also, most soft panniers can expand. So if you're just packing light, you can have them in this kind of smaller mode so it doesn't take up as much room. And then if you need to pack extra, you can unzip the expander and then get more stuff in. Same goes for the other kinds of luggage. So stuff like Wolfman luggage and Klim, they're basically in the style of dry bags. So you can obviously roll the top down to make it smaller or unroll them to make them bigger. So you've got a bit more versatility to like the shape and size of soft panniers over hard panniers. But then again, the downside of having soft panniers is they're not as secure. You know, someone could come and unclip them, take them off. Even if you put like little locks, like, you know, like little suitcase locks on the zips and things. I mean, just one knife, you can kind of open them up. Someone dedicated enough could easily just open it up and take your stuff. Even if it's not really worth anything to them, you'd be surprised what people will think is in your stuff and just, you know, steal stuff. So a negative and positive of both of those is that your hard panniers tend to be waterproof. So you don't need to necessarily have a waterproof liner inside, and your soft luggage usually comes with a liner on the inside to keep the stuff dry inside, or they are just fully waterproof anyway, like your Klim and your Wolfman luggage. However, the ones that are not like dry bags, obviously they get wet on the outside, so the outer of them can get wet, and if your stuff inside isn't properly sealed up within the little bags, then stuff can get wet. So one of the main positives to having the soft luggage over the hard panniers is that it tends to be cheaper. They, you know, your hard panniers can, with the rack, can cost you up to like £600-700 easily, whereas your soft luggage, a couple £100 max. If you're sticking with the ones that are similar to like Gore-Tex, you know, if you're going for something like your Oxford panniers, if you're heading into the range of sort of your Klim and those Wolfman luggage ones, which are more like dry bags, obviously they come with a higher price. So you just kind of got to do what's right for you. Other kinds of luggage that you can also get is seat bags. I have a seat bag that then turns into a backpack, which is great for me because then I can put all sorts of stuff in the backpack and then take it with me and not have to leave it on the bike. You can get those in various different sizes, they expand and all kinds of stuff. So you've also got tank bags as well. They're great because it's easy to get things while you're on the bike. So if you're pulling up to, let's say, security before you go over to Europe or somewhere like that, you've got easily accessible passport, directions, wallet, that kind of stuff. You need to get stuff out of the bike while you're on the bike. Perfect. However, myself and quite a few other people don't actually like tank bags because you have to take them off to refuel your bike, and it's just something I cannot be bothered to do. When I pull up to refuel, I don't want to take the whole bag off. Some are really easy and they just like spin. They like kind of clip off and then take them off, and then you can open and fill up. Other ones are so much more complicated than that. It's, you know, it's just an extra thing to faff with, and I just don't need it. But they are good for some people. Personally, if I need things that I need to be able to grab while I'm on the bike, I carry a leg bag, and I'll keep like my passport and paperwork and that kind of stuff in there that I would need while sat on the bike. You can also get bags that attach to other parts of your bike as well. For example, you can get bags that attach to your front forks and other areas of your bike as well, just to give you an extra few litres if you really travel with a lot of stuff and you need that extra couple of litres space. Of course, you've always got backpacks as well. Backpacks are great because you can pretty much get one anywhere, and sometimes that's all you've got available, which is absolutely fine. The only bad side to backpacks is if you've got a lot of gear, that's a lot more weight pulling on your shoulders. If you're going for a long ride or traveling multiple days, it's going to tire you out, it's going to become uncomfortable. Cargo nets are amazing things. There's nothing wrong with using your backpack to keep all your kit in and then cargo netting it to your rear seat. Perfect, bang, done. No need for panniers, no need for fancy luggage systems, perfect. You can keep it that simple if you really want to. You don't need all this fancy gear. Cool, so now I'm going to cover how to pack your panniers. So you've got your bike storage solution, whatever you're going to go with, whether it's panniers, backpack, seat bag, whatever you're going with. The biggest piece of advice I will give you is always pack what you're going to use first, last. You want the first piece of gear that you're going to use to be on the top, so that you haven't got to rifle through your panniers to get, for example, your tent out. The first thing I do when I get to camp is I put my tent up. I get my tent set up and then faff about with the rest. If it's raining or the ground's wet, I don't want to be taking my sleeping bag out, taking my clothes out, taking everything out to get to the tent that's in the bottom so I can set it up. Obviously, this depends on how you do your own setup. You might be a person that wants to sit and have a cup of tea before they put their tent up. Fine, pack that stuff at the top. Other things you can do with your panniers is try to keep them relatively equal in weight. So set up a system that works for you, where you've got certain things in each pannier so that it's always kind of, you know what's going to be in what pannier. So for me, I keep all my kind of sleeping kit and that kind of thing on one side. So my sleeping bag, mat, pillow, tent, usually my camping chair, all in one side, and then it's like my clothes, kitchen, the rest of it on the other side. That seems to balance the weight out of mine pretty evenly. I know that because I've done that so many times and I've worked it out at home, so I know what belongs in which pannier. Also, if I'm stopped at a service station and I'm like, oh, actually I want something out of my panniers for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I might do, I know what box it's in. So a main tip I have when it comes to packing up your tent and packing your tent, for example, is make sure your inner tent is kept separately to your outer tent. So I keep the inner tent in a dry bag, that way it always stays dry. And it doesn't matter if your outside of your tent is wet. Obviously, if you get up in the morning and you've got dew all over the outside of your tent, or it's been raining all night and you don't have the time, or it's not sunny enough to sit and wait for your outer tent to dry out, the inner tent goes in a dry bag, and then when you get to the next night, the next location, you haven't got a soggy wet tent. because your inside of your tent will be nice and dry, and then as soon as you shove it in the bag with your wet outside tent, inside's going to be soaked. So that way you always got a nice dry place to sleep. Which moves me on to my next point, which is to keep your clothes and your sleeping bag in a dry bag as well. Those three things are really important to keep dry. You need to have dry clothes, you need to have a dry place to sleep, and you need a dry sleeping bag to keep you warm. Everything else in your kit can get wet. It's not the end of the world. Unless you've got sensitive electronics, then you might want to put those in a dry bag. But things like your cooking equipment, all that stuff, it can all get wet. It's not the end of the world. Just those three things, super important to keep dry. And speaking of dry bags, I also use them to help keep my stuff organized. So rather than having 2 panniers just full of random bits, so when I'm like, oh, I need my fork, or I need, I'd like a lighter or something, it's not just all loose in there and I'm like rifling through trying to find it. So I keep all of my kitchen stuff, for example, in one bag, all of my food in another bag, all of my clothes in another bag, things like that, so that I can easily just open up my panniers and be like, blue bag is kitchen bag, get it out, it's got my cooker in it, done and dusted. Also helps keep your camp tidy and organised as well. You're a good boy. Yes, he is. A good boy. Yeah, some good boys. Some extra bits you might want to take is carry bags. So a carry bag is great for keeping your rubbish together. Some campsites will have rubbish disposal, but if you're wild camping or dispersed camping in other countries, you need to make sure you take your rubbish with you. So also, if you're doing camp shoes and it's muddy and wet, sometimes it's great to just chuck them in the carry bag so they don't make everything else wet and dirty and gross. Same goes for dirty clothes. If you're not going to be washing your clothes while you're away, carry a bag that you then shove in with the rest of your clothes. Just keeps it separate from your clean clothes, so you've not got dirty, smelly undies mixing in with your clean ones. If you have a sort of system where you haven't got like loads of panniers and things, just think about what is going onto the back of your bike. If you've got a sleeping bag, for example, I'd make sure it went in a dry bag in case it got rained on, but also for things like dust and bugs and things, the amount of bugs you get, especially in the summer, that will stick to you when you hit them. When it comes to cargo netting, just be mindful of how you're attaching your mounting points for your cargo net. I have melted one before where I've mounted it a bit too close to the exhaust, and I was riding down the M5 and I was like, what is that noise? Why am I flapping? So those are some tips and ways in which I pack my stuff on my bike, just sort of things I've learned throughout the years. I think I've got my system pretty dialed down and pretty good. So I hope this video has helped you. If it has, let me know by giving it a like. If you have got your own tips and advice, please pop it in the comments below for everyone. And if you like this kind of content and want to see some more content like this, or just interested in seeing some moto camping vlogs and that kind of stuff, then feel free to subscribe and yeah, just have fun.